excellent.
Merry Christmas and welcome back to the Mind Your Business podcast. Today is one of the most meaningful episodes of the year because we're talking about the greatest leadership example that the world has ever seen. Today on Christmas, we celebrate the birth of Jesus, a baby born in a manger, wrapped in cloth, but carrying a mission that would shape culture, history, leadership, and ultimately eternity. Now, I understand that you may not observe this day for the same meaning or reason that I do, but there's still so much that we can learn. There's still so much that we can gather from the life of Jesus. So I want you just to stay with me because if you want to understand leadership at its purest form, at the foundation, you look at Jesus. See, the modern leadership, the buzzwords and the principles that we use today, these aren't new. These were lived out in real time by a man who came not to be served, but to serve. So today on Christmas, we're going to look at 5 leadership principles that came straight from the life of Jesus. And I believe that these very principles are still transforming teams, organizations, and leaders today. So welcome to the Mind Your Business podcast, the podcast for whatever business is on your mind. Let's get started.
Well, that's excellent.
Well, thank you for joining me for another episode of the Mind Your Business podcast and for making our conversations possible. This special Christmas episode wraps up season 2, but don't worry, season 3 begins January 8th, 2026, and that's right around the corner. And hey, if this podcast has brought value to your life, do me a favor. If you're watching on YouTube, like, subscribe, share this with other people. If you're listening by podcast, wherever you get your favorite podcast, please leave a review because this helps us add value to as many people as possible, and we want to grow the podcast as much as we can. So picture this. The shepherds are out in the field. The night sky, it's quiet. Suddenly there's angels that show up, announce the long-awaited king. The hope of the world has arrived. The angel says, the shepherds, hey, the king is here. Now, I don't know about you, but I would be a little freaked out at that moment, but it would spark a little curiosity. And what was unique about this situation is that this king was not found in a palace. He wasn't sitting on a throne. He wasn't tucked behind a royal guard. He was lying in a feeding trough. He was in a manger. See, from the very beginning of his life, leadership, Jesus, he disrupted every expectation of what leadership looked like. They were looking for a king to lead in the way that they understood. But Jesus came to change all of those expectations. And I believe today in our leadership, if we want to maximize our potential, we need to change the expectations of what a leader is thought about today because we can do better. And see, the story of Christmas, it's a story of hope. It's a story of redemption. But it's also a story of a radically different kind of leader who entered this world. Everything that Jesus did, everything that Jesus taught, that he modeled, that he lived, it came the foundation. It formed the very foundation or the layers for the leadership principles that we teach today. Everything that he did, taught, and modeled, it all became our foundation for leadership today. But here's some hard truth for us and why I think this discussion matters so much today. We have built leadership cultures today that I think focus on power instead of purpose, or positions instead of people, and recognition instead of responsibility. We talk a lot about leadership, and we try to find ways to enhance our leadership, and that's good. But we're talking about leadership like it's just a strategy to master instead of a life to live. And I believe leadership should become a life that we live and not just a strategy to master. See, this creates leaders who look successful on the outside, but they feel empty on the inside. When you're looking at just doing the thing and just filling the part, but ultimately, this leaves those who are leading in that way, in an unhealthy way. They feel burnout, they feel frustrated, they feel disconnected, and they feel unhealthy. But Jesus shows us a better way. He shows us a way that leads fulfilling, a way that builds healthy leaders and healthy teams. So today, on Christmas, let's look at Jesus and 5 leadership qualities that can increase the influence and impact that I believe we can have on others. So let me give you number 1. The first thing that I want to give you, the principle of the life of Jesus, is servant leadership. Servant leadership. That's talked about a lot in leadership, but Jesus is the first of the model. He's the first to give us that form of leadership. In other words, as a servant, you start from the lowest seat. You start from the lowest place. See, when you look at the life of Jesus, Jesus washed feet, not figuratively, literally. Everywhere that Jesus went, he was the most important man in the room. But in every room he was in, he was willing to do the job that was reserved for the lowest servant in the house. And when Jesus was doing this, he was teaching us that everyone, regardless of their abilities, regardless of their position, everyone has value. And I think as leaders, the greatest thing we can do is understand that our leadership impacts people. I know you have a product. I know you have a service. I know that you're working for profit. But in your leadership, as we build people, it all follows through. So if you build people, they'll build the product. If you build people, they'll service the product. If you build people, they'll sell the product. And all of that produces the profit that you're looking for. See, Jesus gave us a picture of what leadership looks like when humility is at the center. Because Jesus led through serving. That's how he touched the lives of people. He left the people and the places that he went better than he found them. Think about it. If there was hunger, what did Jesus do? He fed them. If there was sickness, he healed them. If there was shame, he restored their dignity. If there was rejection, he brought acceptance to people. See, Jesus moved toward the people that most leaders moved away from. He stepped into the places that most leaders avoid because he found value in people. And the whole time, he minimized himself and he maximized others. He showed us that the greatness does not come from trying to be seen. It comes from helping others see their own value. Jesus taught us that leadership is not about climbing to the top of the ladder. It's about bending low enough to help other people get there. He showed us that it's about taking the towel instead of the title. So I want you to ask yourself this question. As a leader, who can I serve today instead of impress? Who today can I serve instead of impress? Who needs encouragement? Who needs my help? Who needs my time or attention that I can freely give to someone else? See, leaders who serve build teams that thrive. So, serve the people that you lead. Secondly, I want to give you a principle from the life of Jesus is his empathetic leadership. See, Jesus saw people, not just the crowds. Crowds followed him. They were everywhere that he went. Everywhere that Jesus went, large groups would just press in, waiting for miracles. They were hoping for answers. They were just desperate to get close to this man. And any other leader may have focused on managing the masses, but Jesus always noticed the one. See, Jesus saw the individuals. Every person had value and meaning in the big crowd. As leaders, we talk about managing these crowds and growing these crowds and maximizing the benefit of these crowds. And not that that's wrong, but the very foundational leadership principles saw the people. A woman at a well in the story in the Bible who lived in shame, he saw her. A blind man who was calling out from the side of the road while everyone else told him to be quiet, Jesus saw him. In the Bible, it talks about a tax collector hiding in a tree because he felt so small, too sinful to be seen by Jesus, but Jesus took the time to look up and to see him. There was a woman who got through the large crowds to touch his robe, just hoping that she wouldn't be noticed but could get close to Jesus. In every one of those stories, Jesus stopped for every single one of them. He never rushed past people to get to the next moment. He never let a schedule crowd out his compassion. He never treated people like they were interruptions. See, to him, interruptions were opportunities. They were opportunities to remind someone that they mattered. I think leaders today, we're so focused on our goals, on our deadlines, or on our metrics, our meetings, that we lose the ability to notice what's right in front of us, and that's people. But Jesus showed us a completely different rhythm. He showed us a little slower pace in his leadership, a present mindset. He had a willingness to stop and really see the person. So I want to challenge you today in your leadership. I want to challenge you to slow down just enough to see who is right in front of you. I want you to notice that team member who just looks maybe overwhelmed. Notice the person who works hard and just never asks for help. See, real leaders notice what other people overlook. So take a moment to look across your team, recognize, reward, encourage, invest in the people who are right in front of you. The third thing about Jesus and his leadership is his visionary leadership. I want to encourage us to cast a vision that's bigger than yourself. And see, we do this as leaders. We're thinking about our vision and where we're carrying people and growing something. But Jesus did it a little differently. See, think about the leadership of Jesus and the difference that he made. But Jesus never built a brand. He never had a logo. He didn't have a slogan. He didn't do personal promotion. Believe it or not, there was no PR team. There was no marketing strategy or even an attempt to build influence just for influence's sake. Instead, Jesus built a mission so clear and a mission so compelling that it outlived empires and kingdoms. We're still talking about it today. He gathered ordinary people with ordinary jobs, but he gave them an extraordinary assignment. He had fishermen, tax collectors, doubters, quiet followers who were suddenly invited into a purpose that were far beyond their daily routines or their existence in life. See, Jesus told them, here is why you are a part of the team. Here's why you're on the planet. Here's why you're brought in close. Here's what you're capable of. Here's the part that you play in changing the world. And we're still talking about it. The mission still lives on. His vision hasn't weakened. In fact, it has grown. It still influences our culture, communities, leadership, and everyday people in every corner of the world. And that is the power of a vision. And so today, we think vision is a catchy statement or a slick presentation, but Jesus showed it that real vision is alive. It breathes, it moves people, it gives ordinary work eternal meaning. So I want to encourage you today to make sure your team knows the purpose behind their work. Vision is not a statement on a wall. It's a fire that burns inside of you. It's the desire to get up on Monday morning and go do it again. And when your team understands the why, the how becomes a lot less complicated. You give them purpose, you give them desire. So give them a mission inside of them to do good in the world. Every role that is played matters. It has a purpose to it, and make sure your team understands. Number 4 is developmental leadership. Jesus had such an incredible way of developing leadership. Just invest in a few. It gives you the ability to impact many. That's what Jesus did. See, Jesus changed the world, but he didn't do it by himself. He did it by developing 12 ordinary people, 12 ordinary men. And within that 12, he even invested more intimately in 3. Peter, James, and John weren't just followers. They were disciples. They were learning leadership by both watching, listening, and ultimately just walking and living beside Jesus. He modeled the principles that real transformation doesn't just happen by being told what to do. He modeled that it wasn't about a fancy program or just this surface level training that sometimes we think if we throw at our employees, we did enough, right? But true leadership, it grows when someone invests personally in another person's life. See, this is in conversations. It's in those corrections. It's in the encouragement. Even in those quiet moments when you think no one is watching or they're not paying attention, they're watching your leadership. And this is where things like this grow and develop in a meaningful way. And so my encouragement to you is to identify the people that you can pour into. Leadership development, listen, it's not a meeting. It's a relationship. So take some time to mentor the people around you, coach them, model what you want to give away, invest your presence. So your influence, it grows and expands when you invest in the people that's around you. And then the fifth thing that I want to bring to your attention today is resilient leadership. Jesus had an incredible way to stay steady under pressure. And when you think about his leadership and what he endured, far more than or greater than any of us. But Jesus, he understands what you and I face. He faced criticism. He had betrayal. There were misunderstandings, and he had stress like no other leader before and no other leader since. There was religious leaders that were questioning him. There were friends that denied him, crowds that misunderstood him. See, every step of his mission, it brought opposition. Everything Jesus set out to do was in the face of opposition, but he never gave up and he never gave in. Jesus proved, he modeled, he showed us that resilience is not about avoiding challenges. It's not about taking the easy way out, but it is about keeping your eyes on the mission, knowing why that you're doing what you're doing and it mattered. It's about keeping your eyes focused, even when the voices around you are loud, even when people are skeptical, even when people are hostile to what it is that you're trying to do. See, pressures and problems, they are inevitable. They are going to happen. Misunderstandings, they are unavoidable. But the way you respond defines both your leadership and your legacy. So I want to encourage you here. Pressure is not a sign to quit. It is always going to happen. It's going to be packaged in different ways. But when all of these things happen, when all of these challenges come, and they're going to, they will, but just stay grounded, stay focused. Let your purpose remind you why you're in it, why you started it, and then let that guide the decisions that you make and the steps that you take. See, leaders who endure under pressure, these are the leaders who create trust because people know you're not going anywhere. We can get behind him. We can get behind her. We can follow them no matter what is happening. They are the safety in the middle of the storm. They're going to trust you because you're committed. They will be loyal to you because they're watching you be so committed into what you are doing, what you're trying to accomplish. And ultimately, that's the lasting impact. That's the legacy that is built by what you do and the way that you lead. So today on Christmas, as Jesus brings hope to the world, he's also bringing hope to us leaders, hope for a better way to lead people, hope to help us make a difference, hope to help us have an impact and an influence in lives of people that are around us. I think Christmas reminds us that leadership doesn't have to look like what the world expects. I just think Jesus proves there's a better way, and I think we need a better way today. So I want you to lean into this thinking about what can I do to develop my leadership, to do it a different way so that I can make a bigger difference. So today, on this Christmas, let his life challenge the way that you lead. Let it remind you that true leadership, it's not about positions, it's not about platforms, it's about serving people. It's about seeing people. It's about casting a vision, a mission, and investing in the people who are in that with you. And it's about standing firm even when it's difficult. Let's lead in a way that people love the work they do, where they do it, and who they do it with. So let me ask you this. Which of these 5 leadership qualities do you need to apply in your life or even in your team this year? And if you're watching on YouTube, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. Let's talk about it. And once again, thank you for being a part of the Mind Your Business podcast. I'm really looking forward to season 3 beginning in January. And again, if you found this episode helpful, come on, hit like on YouTube, subscribe, hit the bell so you never miss an episode, and share it with someone so we can make a bigger difference together. And of course, if you're listening wherever you get your favorite podcast, please leave a review. Hey, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and don't forget to go mind your business.